Okay. So today's content will be revolving around understanding why we're here today and answering any of your questions that you might have regarding fitness or nutrition or smart coach in general. All right. So an introduction to myself. Um, I'm an internationally certified nutrition and fitness coach. I'm also certified in advanced clinical nutrition, which allows me to handle cases like people with lifestyle disorders, diabetes, PCOS. Um, so I'm certified in handling these conditions, and I have experience in that also. On top of all of this, I've been a full stack developer. I've had a software development background, and I'm a chef by hobby. So I really love food. So that's why you see me cooking a lot on my Instagram and on my YouTube. And that's what I keep sharing about myself. Um, another thing of me is I really love reading and researching evidence-based information. I'll tell you more about what exactly evidence-based information means. And also, I'm the creator of SmartCoach. Before we get started onto everything else, I'll just tell you what this project Smart Coach means to me. So you must have seen about how there's a lot of misinformation on the internet about how certain foods are healthy, how certain tactics work for losing fat or building muscle, abs in a week or abs in 4 weeks, all of that. There's a lot of misinformation out there if you've noticed. um, I used to believe in a lot of those things too. I used to think that there was a one size fits all solution too, where there's a certain diet that suits everyone, or when there's a certain exercising factor that everyone can use, and then everyone will get the same results. But that's not actually true at all. I've seen people asking each other ki, hey, can you share your diet plan with me, or can you share your workout plan with me, thinking it'll work, but then that is designed for someone else's body and it won't work for everyone else. And I was of the same thought earlier on that just eating a certain way, certain food items, it would make me look really good. So that wasn't the case, honestly. So after years of trial and error, I am at a point where I've got good enough information to put together the right way of doing things. That is the evidence based way of doing things. Evidence based basically means information that is based on research, and these researches are conducted by scientists and people in the industry who uh, put groups of people through trials and get results that they seek out of them by making them eat a certain way, or making them behave a certain way, or training them a certain way to get conclusions that can impact a larger majority of people. I've also believed in myths around cardio that says, fasted cardio is better than normal cardio, which is not actually true, honestly. Uh, I'll explain more about what exactly do I mean it not being true. If the body burns fat in the morning, so for example, fasted cardio you usually do in the morning on an empty stomach. So if you burn fat early in the morning because you did it fasted, so the only source of energy was your fat sources, the body is smart enough to spare the fat sources for the rest of the day. So there might be a spike in the oxidation of fat in the morning because you did fasted cardio, you sweat a lot, and then you burnt a lot of energy. But then the body is smart enough to not tamper into those fat stores later on in the day. It'll use your rest of the sources as energy. The net balance over the 24 hours would be the same as compared to someone who did cardio, randomly in the middle of the day, or intermittently, like 5 minutes one time, 5 minutes one time. So the net balance in the 24 hours would be the same for both of these people. So there's not really a huge, gain of doing fasted cardio first thing in the morning, or cardio before your workouts. Like, yeah, that's also a bad thing that people should avoid, because doing cardio right before your strength training workouts impacts your training workouts, because it taps into the same energy stores your strength training workout requires. So that means it burns your glucose, because that's the fastest source of energy, and then it taps into your fat stores. So yeah, those are some cardio myths that I wanted you to know. I've also done things like cutting carbs. Like, we do this thing where we don't eat breads or chapatis or rice, thinking that, hey, it'll help me lose weight. I'm cutting out fats, like, I want less oil in my food, etc. So, and classifying foods as healthy and unhealthy. Honestly, this is something that has been going on for years. I've been playing this game myself too, like, classifying some food as healthy and some food as unhealthy. Um, there is actually This is like a big discussion topic, honestly. Something can't be healthy or unhealthy. It depends on the context of when that food is being eaten. So that's the thing. Like, there is no healthy or unhealthy. It just depends on the context of the person. So if an obese person is eating too much fast food, then that's unhealthy. But if a really lean person who's ripped is having fast food, even if it's on a regular basis and they're managing the rest of their macronutrient and micronutrient requirements, then that wouldn't count as unhealthy. So there has to be a context of when something is said healthy or unhealthy. In that way, even spinach would be unhealthy for a person if they have a iron toxicity, like way too much iron in their body, and they're overdosing with spinach, so which is high in iron. So that's why, like, nothing is healthy or unhealthy. It's just, these fads have been put out there for everyone to use and confuse. So these are some points that you should focus on. Like, I've fallen for these two, and I've been on the platform on Instagram and stuff trying to clear out this for people, that there is no such thing as healthy or unhealthy, and the trying to bust out as many myths as possible. So after realizing all of these flaws over the years that I've been making, I started curating my health and fitness information sources based on credibility and not popularity. So, all of the information that I derived afterwards, after making these mistakes, was reading it from resources and researches of scientists and people in the industry, rather than people who are putting it up on YouTube or flaunting it. We've been there too. Like, people who look good, have a channel on YouTube, have some background in fitness. They promote things which might not exactly be true, and we all fall for them. But that's the thing. That's something I wanted to change about myself and for my peers and people who I care about and the majority of the population. Like, trying to bring them to the side that everything should be based on evidence and not just because there's some it's popular, like, it's trending. So one of the things that I learned over time to do the right way is quantifying your nutrition and training variables. So what does quantifying nutrition and training variables exactly mean? By quantification of nutrition, it's basically where you are aware of what is going into your body. So because the thing is, you can't exactly know what you're doing in a day. So to understand how much you're expending in a day, but what you can know is how much you're eating in a day. That's something you have a lot of control over. That is quantification of nutrition. Quantification of training variables is rather more complicated. So I will not be picking that topic up right now. But over time, when I collected a lot of my data, and I had years and years of logs where I had written down notes and all of my information, all of my nutrition variables, all of my calculations and stuff, which I would use to, figure out things like my weight information, how much calories I'm eating, all of that. I had a good log of it for like years, but there was no centralized way of storing it. It was in multiple books and multiple places. So then I've got the idea of creating a software that allowed me to aggregate all of these variables into one location. So that's how SmartCoach was born. That's the mistake that people do. Like, they use various different apps for doing their work, which makes it kind of complicated to keep track of things, and eventually over a span of time you kind of lose track of doing things because um, you can't always keep logging into all of these different apps. So that's why I wanted to compress all of this into a single piece of software that handles a lot of the work for me. So you must have heard of tools like MyFitnessPal, um, and a lot of other things like lose it, where you get to track how much food you're eating. And these they give you a general recommendation for weight loss or weight gain, but that's where they end. Like, it's just a general recommendation. They don't carry you ahead with it. They don't suggest you your next goal or what you should be doing next. So it's a very vague help you'll get from there. But then they're really good at what they do, that is tracking your calories. So how do you track calories is basically okay. So before that, what exactly calorie is it is a term of energy. Um, your body uses energy to function throughout the day. Like, if you want to perform an activity, you have to spend some currency. That is energy. So your body gets its energy through food. Otherwise, the fat stored in your body. Otherwise, the rest of the sources of energy in your body, like carbs, glucose, all of that, glycogen. So but yeah, that's the thing. In simplistic ways, it's your body expending energy to get things done. If you've seen, there are these online maintenance calorie calculators where you enter your height, weight, and some of them ask you for your body fat percentage and your age. So once you give it these and your activity levels, once you give it these, you might get a four-digit number like 2300 or 1700, something of this sort, like, based on whether you're male or female. But then you get these values. But if you've noticed, if you open multiple of these calculators together, you get to see all of them suggesting you different values. And how do you know which one is the right one for you? You could take an average out of all of them and just work with that, but then it takes you about a week or two to understand what exactly what direction your weight is moving in. So the calories that you calculated for yourself using these online calculators is actually right or wrong. So that's why they're usually inaccurate and have a large error margin. So how does SmartCoach become different as compared to these? So SmartCoach is a coaching application. It's a coaching software. Yes, it does do an initial calculation based on the same variables that these other apps use to. That is your demographic information, age, weight, height. But then the difference between SmartCoach and other apps is that SmartCoach will continuously reassess your nutritional recommendations each time you make an entry. So you make an entry for your how much calories you've consumed and your weight, and it'll adjust things as needed based on how you're progressing and your individual metabolism. So we will see a demo of how SmartCoach exactly works. So I'll show you by from the very beginning of how we create an account, and I'll explain to you what exactly do I mean by the terminologies and etc. So here on the SmartCoach registration page, we simply make an account. There's a username, email, general things. And then this is the important part where you choose your activity level: sedentary, lightly active, active, or very active. Honestly, the recommendation is to prefer an activity level that's lower than what you actually do. So if you are just a person who works in the office, sits the entire day, uh, doesn't have too much activity in a day, is in front of the PC most of the time, then you would pick sedentary. But if you're someone who's working out in a day too, but just for an hour or so, the rest of the day you're just sitting, you would still be sedentary because you're not having much of an activity. But if you go to the gym and you're spending a good 2 hours or something, where a good hour is cardio or something, then yes, you would be going into the lightly active domain. Active and very active are actually for people who have physically taxing jobs, like construction workers or athletes who have to train multiple times a day. That's when these people would use these options. But then for the general population, sedentary and like lightly active works the best. If even if you pick a wrong activity factor, if you pick very active by mistake, even though you're sedentary, and it gives you a very smart code suggests you a very high calorie expenditure, keep on logging information into it. It'll eventually fix that mistake that it made and get to your actual and accurate TDE value, the maintenance calories. So these are just my metrics, height, weight, age, gender. And I'll just create an account. I'll quickly verify my email. Okay. So usually whenever you log into the app for the very first time, you get greeted with this screen where it tells you, do you want to learn to know how to use the application? So yes, let's go. I want to learn. So it tells you very beginning of uh, what exactly is the term TDEE that you keep hearing, maintenance calories. You hear it from me also multiple times uh, right now into the video. So maintenance calories is basically a value that if you eat above this value, you will gain mass, like you will gain weight. If you eat below this value, you will lose weight. And if you eat at this value for like the rest of your life, you will look the same. Of course, yeah, the body recomposition is a thing that will happen. Just giving an example. But then TDE is something that changes every single day. Like it's not a single fixed value. So if one day you're sleeping in, your value will be different. If the next day you're going to play cricket or football, your value will be different. If the next day you're going for work, that will also be a different value. So if you look at an entire week, 7 days, every day the value is going to be a little different from the other day. But then the weekly average would be a specific value. And if you see this average over the next few weeks, it would kind of stay the same, but then it'll always lean towards one direction, either going up or either going down, the metabolism fastening up or the metabolism slowing down based on what you're doing in the day. Okay, so um, giving your demographic information to SmartCoach, it just calculates a TDE value for you where you can use it to eat at that level for a certain span of time, and then the algorithm will suggest you a next goal value. In the beginning, if you missed out your demographic information like providing your height, weight, age, all of that, the application will of course not give you a calculation because it doesn't have any data to work on. But then the if you keep tracking your calories and your weight for 14 days straight, or you give the application, or you already have that data on you, and you provide 14 days worth of data to the application, to the SmartCoach algorithm, it'll use that to calculate the accurate TDE for you and then provide you that. And based on what goal you've selected, it'll help you create a surplus from that if you want to gain weight, put on some muscle, or create a deficit from that based on evidence based values to lose fat. All right. So, how do you log your data? So, whenever you log into the app, in the background, if you see, this is the dashboard. So, you'll find your main log over here. Currently, we do not have a main log, but I'll show you how it looks. Here in the main log, you will keep track of your daily calorie intake and weight. For example, there are 7 days in a week. It would be preferable if you could enter as many values in a week so that the algorithm recommend you a new calorie intake for the next day or for the next few days, what you could keep following, and even if you're going in the right direction. So the more data you have to give it, the more information it'll have to feed on, give you the next suggestion. Of course, none of this data is handed over to anyone. It is just used for calculations for you and then given back to you. It's not used for any malicious purposes. So you don't have to worry about your demographic information being used in the wrong way or any kind of analytics being done on you. So we don't do that here. All right, so this is the cool part now. Um, you have created a log. Now this log must have a goal. You can either gain muscle, lose fat, or keep looking the same. That is, maintain your weight. Of course, body recomposition will happen, but then you can keep doing these things. You can have a bulking phase which can last like around uh 12 weeks, 16 weeks, or like a few months, and then you can have a cutting phase, and then a bulking phase, and then a maintenance phase, and then a cutting phase. Bulking phase is basically when you want to put on muscle, and then of course everyone should know that you can't put on muscle at like a very faster pace if you overfeed, like eating way too much in like less amount of time. You just put on a lot of fat because muscle gets built only at a finite pace. It cannot be fastened by, of course it can be fastened by people enhancing themselves with drugs, but then it can't be fastened by natural bodybuilders. You can't work out extra to make it grow faster. It'll just keep on growing at a certain pace only. So every log will have a goal. You can gain muscle, lose fat, or maintain your weight. This goal cannot be changed later because that log was created for the purpose of that goal only. You can, of course, delete it. Okay. So there's this really cool resource of should I bulk or cut? In the resources section, all these resources are really helpful for you. And then, using your log goal, whatever goal you've set, using either muscle building or fat loss, and your estimated TD with the demographic information that you provided, adding both of these together, the algorithm will calculate a personalized goal calorie intake range. So that is how the thing works. It'll calculate a goal intake range for you only. That'll work only for you. And then once you keep eating at that level it's suggesting, it'll keep learning more about you and how your body is reacting to what it suggested. And then keep giving you new recommendations for things. A lot of people make a mistake in weighing themselves. People weigh themselves in the middle of the day or the last thing of the day, but the right way of doing things is measuring it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach at a very consistent time. Consistent time meaning is first thing in the morning on an empty stomach only, because what happens is when you eat something in the day, your weight changes. Just give it a thought. If you woke up in the morning and drank a liter of water, that's going to put on an extra kg of weight in your body. And if you stand on the scale after that, you're going to be a kg of weight heavier. So that's what it means by on an empty stomach. You have to be at least 7 to 8 hours fasted to use a weight as a data point. Also, as you're using the application, you might realize that the starting weight and the current weight seem a little off as compared to what you had entered, because those are not actually single values, but they are averages of the first seven and the latest seven values respectively. So the starting weight would be the average of the first 7 days rather than the first day itself, and the current weight would be the average of the last 7 days. Also, as I was saying earlier, a few entries are more accurate than one and minimize the impact of outliers. So, in case you're thinking, why should I track 7 days of a week, or maybe 4 days of a week, or 5 days of a week? Why can't I just track, one day of the week? Because the thing is, that one day you could have been bloated, or you could have been stressed, which would have caused a spike in your weight, and that would not have given you the right information about yourself. Or you might have had a bad case of some health issue, which would have made your weight fall by a lot. And of course, these are outliers, so that would mess around with the data that you're providing the application. So these are some guidelines to keep in mind about weighing yourself. All right. So the algorithm gives a feedback to you after you give it 14 days worth of data. Even if you've entered your demographic information and it's given you a value to work off, like for example a TDE, the first time it's calculated for you, it'll still take the algorithm 14 days of complete data to make further adjustments, because 14 days is just this learning phase. It's learning about you. And then it's also considered a gold standard for any kind of finding the maintenance calories. Like the algorithm is still finding out your maintenance calories for you. Even every time you input some kind of data into the application, it finds out your maintenance calories still. And based on those maintenance calories and your goal, it gives you a new recommendation. So that's how the feedback continuously keeps happening until you reach your end goal. So I'll give you a demo of how the application works now. So this is my account. Here is the dashboard. The logs are of course empty because I haven't created anything yet. And the resources section contain really useful resources that you could read. So let's go to the dashboard. So we will create a main nutrition log first. Let's create a new nutrition log. We will title this as bulking because that's our goal. So we want to gain some muscle, and let's press confirm. So this is our main log. As you can see, we've got a goal intake range that's 2500 to 2700 almost. This was based on the information that you had provided earlier. So now if I open this, this is my log. Let me show you on the mobile application how this looks like. Let's open this. So I'm greeted with the same screen, and then I log in with the same account. I was just doing the password entry, that's why. So let's sign in. So we are greeted with the same UI. I will open the log, and as you can see, I get a same UI as compared to the web screen, just like that. So now you can see there is a goal intake over here on the website as well on the mobile app, and it has estimated your maintenance calories as 2200. So now as I put values into this, where now I started my bulking journey, and then I started off with at like 69 kgs of weight, and I was eating 2500 as it had suggested. No, wait. Yeah, 2700 as it had suggested. So I press confirm. That's my first entry into it. And it gives you a feedback about how you're doing. So you keep going, and then so the next day my weight turned out to be 69.2. This is when I was measuring it on an empty stomach. Calories are 2700, same thing. So this is two entries into it. Now like this, I have to do 14 entries. It keeps giving you a feedback about how you're performing. And if you need to change anything, of course, it takes 14 days for it to get to giving you the right recommendation. So now I'll do some entries on the website. So now the next day my weight turned out to be um, 69.7. There was a spike a little bit, and my calories were this. As you can see, nothing is changing yet. But then we have given it three data points already. So have some patience. I'll put some more values, and then we will look at what exactly happens. I'll do some entries on the phone really quickly. Of course, your weight does not stay the same, so it's fluctuating at a daily basis. It could be up or down. You don't have to worry about you don't have to worry too much about oh, my weight is down a certain day, oh, my weight is too high on the certain day. It's a weekly average, so your weight would mean something else only as compared to what you see it on a certain day. There could be large weight fluctuations whenever you're doing weight calculation, measuring your weight. So you don't have to worry about there being huge differences. Just consistency is what matters. All right. So we're done with 14 entries, 13 entries. Okay. We'll just do one last entry. All right. So it seems like we were doing things as it wanted us to do, and then we were keeping it at a surplus that it had thought of us. And then at the beginning, it was estimated as 2264, but then for this log actually, and then based on how we've been changing the weight, it is estimated it has 2700 now because we were actually losing weight. If you could see, I'll show you. As you can see in this chart, how our weight was trending down over the weeks. So as it gives you a feedback that goal is to gain muscle, but you have maintained or lost your weight, we recommend that you follow this goal to continue gaining your weight. So you can use this chart to understand how you're trending like. So as you can see, your weight actually started up, but then it was trending down over the few weeks. Now it has suggested a TDEE as 2700, and it says we should eat at 2950, that is the lower end of things, or 3200, or anything in between, honestly. So let's say we start eating at 3000. So we'll put it as 68.9, and our calories are 3000. And as you can see, it starts changing again. The goal intake, all of it is changing continuously. So now if I do 68.5, that we're still staying the same. So that means the TD will increase. It's thinking that, oh, he's still not gaining weight even after increasing it. So that's why it's increasing the goal intake further. But the day when you start going in the right direction, it starts adjusting things for you further. As you can see, our weight is going up, and then it'll start adjusting things further so that we keep progressing at a consistent rate rather than bulking up too fast or anything of that sort. So this is how, if you see, you can go to your goals over the span of, currently we're at 18 entries. Thank you for having the patience to sit through 18 entries of me doing the same thing over and over again. As you can see, the starting weight was 68.9 because it took an average of these seven first values. And then the current weight is actually lower than the starting weight, which it took an average of the latest seven values. And then it understands that, okay, fine, we're not gaining weight yet. So now we're currently gaining weight, as you can see on us on the graph. And then the goal intakes are remaining similar to what it has been suggesting till now. Like, it won't drastically change your values, because if something is working, then you don't have to break it. So you're supposed to gain at a certain pace only. You can't speed up that muscle gain process by eating further and further more. You can just keep it at a certain pace. So the preferential option would be to gain muscle at a steady rate, because if you gain too fast, then a lot of it is going to be fat, apart from muscle too. But then muscle gain only happens at a certain pace. So this is the case for bulking. Now let's go to the resources section and see the different things that it talks about. So the thing that you are seeing over there, the goal intake, the TDE, what are these things? So TDEE, or the maintenance calories, it actually stands for total daily energy expenditure. So the total daily energy expenditure, it's basically how much energy you expend in 24 hours. So this is composed of four main factors. Okay, this is one of them is BMR, basal metabolic rate. This is base this cannot be changed usually. This cannot be changed. It just changes with age. Actually, it reduces by age. Every year your BMR slows down a bit. But this is the major contributing factor to the TDE. And there's something called thermic effect of food. The amount of energy you spend digesting and consuming food, that is another thing that adds up to your TDE. And this is an important factor that most of the people ignore. NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. This is basically you fidgeting your hands while working, or you walking around to get milk or something from the grocery shop. All of this counts as non-exercise activity thermogenesis. How much you sit in a day, how much you sleep in a day, all of it comprises in this activity. And this is exercise activity thermogenesis is the exact opposite to this. How much you're actually working out or something. So that is how much. Oh, this is my mistake. So it's eat. So there are four components that makes up the entire thing. There's BMR. That's something that you cannot change. That is the basic requirement of your body to survive in a day. On top of that, three more things get added. This is how much energy you need to burn food, how much energy you need if you're not laying down the entire day. That is neat. And then the last thing is, if you were working out, then this is some extra thing that you've added on top of all of this. So comparatively to neat, eat is smaller. Exercise activity thermogenesis is actually smaller, because this happens in a span of 1 2 hours, and this happens in the span of 24 hours. So you can think of walking around multiple times in a day being a more strenuous activity as compared to just working out for like an hour or so. So these are some things about the application, and this is a demo of how to do things in the application. So there are some really helpful videos in the application where how do you track your calories? The right way of tracking calories is actually on a food scale, by measuring the food items, and then you can track in apps like MyFitnessPal, or any of the apps that you prefer. And then it also talks about how to, so the suggestions that you get over here, 3050 or 3200, these are called calories. These are comprised of something called macros. So macros are basically protein, carbs, and fats. All three of them combine together to give you some calories. Proteins are 4 calories. 1 gram of protein is 4 calories. 1 gram of carbs is 4 calories, and 1 grams of fat is 9 calories. So that means fats are usually energy dense. So for people who have difficulty gaining weight, your good source of fats would really help. Nuts, nut butters actually, because fats are high in energy and they're really compressed in size. So uh, that's why these are some good sources to have in case you're having difficulty gaining weight. So macros are basically comprised, right? Wait, I think. Okay. So we got reconnected. Just a little disconnection. All right. So what I was saying is whenever you get a suggestion from here, you must know how to split this into some macros. And of course, uh, protein was preferentially higher. You can play around with carbs, and that is something that you're supposed to track protein, how much protein you're having in a day. Carbs and fats you can actually play around with because it does not matter too much in your goals, whatever suits you. Honestly, if you're someone who likes fats a lot more, that is something that suits you, so you could have more of that. If someone likes carbs a lot more, like me for example, oh my god, I love carbs, so then you can have carbs a lot more. I cannot live without carbs, so as compared to fats, I don't really love eating too many fatty stuff as compared to eating lots of volumes of food. So whenever I'm having any of my goals, I try to keep my carbs higher because it helps me with my performance as well as keeping me happy with all the food items that I have. So that is how you can split macros. And in case you did not understand my explanation of what TDE is, you can visit this video that I've linked over here to understand more about it. And if you did not understand how to split macros and what did I tell you about what protein, fats, and carbs are, you can visit this video to get a deeper understanding of what protein, carbs, and fats are, and what food sources contain these things. So, looking at all of these resources together and how I've explained things to you, I hope you understand how to use this application and how this could be helpful and what exactly is it going to do for you. Um, so, if you have any further questions, then you can just put them in the chat and I could help you out with anything, any doubt that you would be having. Or do you want me to cover any topic or any doubts that you have? I can help you out with that. All right. So since there are no questions, I'll be ending the stream now. In the description of this video, you'll find links to the SmartCoach website as well as the SmartCoach Android application. You can go check these out. And if you have any doubts, reach out to me on my social or anyhow, you can reach out to me via the. Also, you can contact us customer support over here to get an idea about how to do things or if you face an issue. So have a nice day. Enjoy your weekend and thank you for attending this session.